Hello and welcome to Football Daily, where today we're looking at 10 players who should have been upgraded with someone better over the summer transfer window. Let's get into it. 10. Dani Carvajal. Arguably no player has been a more consistent presence during Real Madrid's phenomenal decade than Dani Carvajal. The Spaniard joined from Leverkusen just before the 2013-14 season, and over the course of 400 appearances since, he's won 3 titles and 5 Champions Leagues for a trophy every 17 games, racking up more career assists in the Champions League than Ronaldinho, Beckham and Pirlo, a testament to his steady presence. Now 31, you'd expect him to slow down, but for the first time, he may be starting to hurt Madrid. In 22-23, he passed into the final third less than ever before, while his progressive passes between the lines dropped to half their previous high. And more worryingly, he showed signs of physical decline, failing with a high percentage of his attempted tackles and mopping up loose balls less too. And with Benzema gone, Real could have used an attacking fullback to join the front line and grab some goals, with Vinicius, Rodrigo and Bellingham, as amazing as they all are, a little short on numbers against better defensive sides. He's been written off before and come back strong, but Real's interest in Reece James makes sense given the veteran's dwindling ability. Carvajal is far from finished, but he can't stay at the top forever. 9. Sven Ulreich. Despite landing Kim Min-jae, Harry Kane and Raf Guerreiro, Bayern Munich somehow had an embarrassing transfer window. They lost out on Timber and Havertz to Arsenal, failed to solve their right-back problems, endured public dissatisfaction from Goretzka, Kimmich and Pavard, and couldn't land a defensive midfielder, with Rice, Caicedo and Palhinha all slipping through their fingers. But the biggest issue might be between the sticks. Bayern needed a new goalkeeper, with Manuel Neuer still recovering from a skiing accident last winter, and they were confident they'd find someone, shipping Nubel off to Stuttgart and selling previous cover Jan Sommer to Inter. But swoops for Kepa, Ra and De Gea didn't pan out, and while they added young stopper Daniel Peretz from Maccabi Tel Aviv, they head into the campaign with Sven Ulreich back in goal, a man who deputised well for them in 2017-18, but since then has started just 22 top-flight games. Already 35, he's hardly one for the future, and over the last 5 years his save rate of 67% can't compare to Neuer's 71, while he also lacks the passing range of the club's number 1. That wouldn't be an issue normally, but Leverkusen and Leipzig looked dangerous, and Kane wasn't bought for the long term, but for immediate success, making Ulreich an even bigger liability. After 11 consecutive titles, the pressure's on the German, and Tuchel to deliver. 8. Joel Ward. A Palace player since 2012, Joel Ward is the third longest serving player in the Premier League. A £400,000 signing for the club from Portsmouth, Ward is a veteran of 10 permanent managers at Selhurst Park, and with over 300 matches for the Eagles, he's already among the top 10 appearance makers in Palace's 118-year history, making him one of the best value signings in the division. But good things can't last forever. At 33, Ward is the oldest regular in Roy Hodgson's squad, and with Tyreek Mitchell making the left-back slot his own, the team doesn't get much attacking output from the flanks, the pair putting up only 3 goals and assists between them in 64 combined games last term. But this isn't to say Ward is bad. In fact, it's his importance which makes finding an heir even more vital. Ward producing the best tackle success rate in the squad last year, and ranking 4th for progressive passes. If he suddenly declines, more probable than possible given his age, Hodgson will lose a vital brick in his team's foundation. The oldest team in the league as recently as the 2021 campaign, Palace have done a great job of overhauling their roster, with 10 sides now older on average. It may be hard to say goodbye to Ward, but replacing him is the next step forward. 7. Ashley Young. With a history of strong fullbacks from Baines to Coleman to Luca Dean, Everton have suffered on the flanks in recent campaigns. Last season, no fewer than 7 players were handed minutes at left or right back, including unlikely candidates like Dwight McNeil and James Garner, and so it was clear that Sean Dyche would seek to reinforce those spots ahead of the 23-24 campaign. What's less clear is whether Ashley Young represents a real improvement on Vitaly Mykolenko. The Englishman is now 38, becoming Everton's oldest ever debutant at the start of the present season, and while he was a regular for Aston Villa in 22-23, his stats were no better than the man he's replacing. They were almost identical in passing accuracy and incisiveness, both had almost no attacking impact, and neither one could dribble or carry the ball forward. Young was more successful in the tackles he attempted, but tried less of them, and Mykolenko was a more important outlet, receiving twice as many progressive passes, an ability the team might need with Alex Iwobi, their driving force last year, switching to Fulham. Dyche may be focused on immediate survival, but he also needs to make the Toffee squad younger and cheaper, or relegation won't be avoided, but simply postponed. Young, despite his name, won't be much help. 6. Dan Burn. There's nothing wrong with Dan Burn. In fact, the Northumberland native has been excellent since returning to boyhood club Newcastle in January 2022, missing just 300 minutes of action last term as the Magpies climb back to the Champions League spots, thanks to his ability to cover at both left-back and centre-back and his enormous 6'6" presence. However, Newcastle's quick ascent does come with drawbacks, as Eddie Howe's men now face a year in the Champions League with a squad lacking the depth of the traditional super clubs, and the absence of Jamal Lascelles and injury to Sven Botman have already shown the side's fragility. Lewis Hall may be a great prospect at left-back, but he's only got 9 career appearances in the top flight to his name. And if Byrne moves inside to centre-half, it's unclear whether he can match Botman's output for long, the Dutchman boasting 79% tackle success rate last year to Byrne's 51%, over twice as many long balls with better accuracy, plus more ball recoveries and fewer fouls each game. With a game plan based around high-energy pressing and aggression, Botman's fitness problems will not be out of the ordinary for Newcastle this year. Another defender might have made all the difference. 5. Raul Jimenez. Okay, this is a little bit harsh. Raul Jimenez, after all, just joined Fulham, and the Cottagers have had a tough start to the season, with Brentford, Arsenal and Man City in the opening month. But given they lost Mitrovic for €52 million over the summer, fans expected the club to make a splashy move in attack, and Jimenez would have looked better as a backup instead of the main man. A striker might have arrived, but Bayern's late interest in João Palhinha left Marco Silva focusing on midfield reinforcements, and though the Portuguese ended up staying, the cost was high. Fulham have to rely on 32-year-old Jimenez for at least 5 months, and there's little evidence he can do the job, as after his head injury in 2020, the Mexican has never looked the same, his XG halving from 0.6 per 90 to 0.3, shots dropping from 3 to 2, and dribbles from 1.7 to 0.5, leaving Fulham hoping that he can instead facilitate wide men like Reed, Wilson, Traore and Willian, none of whom have ever scored 10 goals in a top-flight campaign. A lot of luck went into Fulham's survival last year, the Londoners overperforming their expected points according to Understat by 13. The difference between their 10th place and 16th. This year, they might need the same good fortune. 4. Fabinho. If you let your starting defensive midfielder go, the usual practice is to bring in a new one. But despite every player they bought this summer being a midfielder, spending €170 million on bolstering their engine room, Liverpool faced the 22-23 campaign with no out-and-out holding player in the squad, after failing with moves for Moses Caicedo and Romeu. As poor as he was last season, Fabinho at least knew the responsibilities of the number 6 role, trailing only Thiago and Konate in defensive actions, as well as providing an important aerial presence defending set pieces. But with him gone, Liverpool have to cobble together his output from ill-fitting pieces, using Wataru Endo there, whose best defensive output ever was roughly the same as the Brazilian's worst, or dropping Alexis McAllister deep, who's just had his best campaign for club and country, featuring as something between a number 8 and a second striker. Gravenberch and Szoboszlai aren't going to fix the problem either, leaving Klopp hoping that either Thiago returns to full fitness, or Trent can be a real DM, or the front line can press so effectively that the midfield has less work to do. Don't be surprised if Liverpool face another uneven year. 3. KOKE. It seems unthinkable to take KOKE out of Atletico Madrid. The Spaniard has been at the club since the age of 8, has nearly 600 games in the shirt, has won 8 trophies including 2 league titles, and is captain of Diego Simeone's side. But despite his long service, it's hard to escape the feeling that he has never become the world beater he could have been. Between 20 and 24, KOKE helped his team to 2 Champions League finals and averaged 16 goal involvements in league play a season. But as he aged, and as Gabi left and Saul failed to progress, he moved further back, and lost some of the dynamism that made him special. Of course, he's still a great passer, with 6 balls into the final third each game, but last year Rodrigo de Paul outstripped him in both the metric and in progressive passes, while with under 1 chance created per 90, 2.7 defensive actions, and a 59% dribble success, KOKE put up career-low numbers across the board, indicating that at 31, and having played 89% of fixtures over the last 11 seasons, time may be catching up on him. Paired with 34-year-old Axel Witsel, this is hardly a midfield for the future. Simeone would be smart to find a true 6 to replace them both. 2. Dusan Vlahović. In Juventus' defence, they did try to upgrade Dusan Vlahović this summer. The Bianconeri were interested in Romelu Lukaku but couldn't shift the Serb to get the deal done. But they failed to follow up interest in Folarin Balogun and signed Timothy Ware to play him as a wing-back, leaving them reliant on the ex-Fiorentina forward for the bulk of their goal output once again. Perhaps it'll come good in Turin this campaign, but last year was not encouraging. Vlahović appeared in 27 games but could only register 8 non-penalty goals and 2 assists, a worse output across the year than Adrien Rabiot, while his underlying numbers were poorer still, with his lowest shots in 3 years and career worst shots on target. As a consequence, 5 teams outscored the old lady, and VLAHOVIĆ also ranked bottom of the squad for defensive actions, while compared to rivals like Osimhen, Martinez and Giroud, he could only muster about 2/3 of the XG, as well as getting dispossessed more often, creating fewer chances, and winning a lower percentage of aerial duels. If he doesn't come good, Juve will have wasted a fortune and could fall further behind their rivals, all of whom strengthened impressively over the summer. Another year outside the top 4 is a scary prospect. 1. Oriol Romeu. Anybody who watched Sergio Busquets was going to be a downgrade. The Spaniard is one of the best holding midfielders of all time, and even last season at 34, ranked in the top 3% of all players worldwide for progressive passes, the top 5% for through balls, the top 8% for ball recoveries, and led Barcelona in defensive actions, providing cover and bite in midfield as well as vision. But surely the club could have found a better follow-up than former Southampton star Oriol Romeu. Nearly 32, Romeu is hardly one for the future, and he doesn't excel in a single area. Despite Girona having 51% possession to Barca's 65, he only made as many tackles and interceptions in 22-23 as Busquets, while he passed forward half as often, and constantly gave away free kicks. And though Barcelona claimed they didn't have the money to pursue a better alternative, they handed Ilkay Gundogan a 3-year contract on around £8 million a year, and they could have simply have used De Jong, Pedri and Gavi in more attacking roles, and put that cash into a real number 6. With Dembele gone too and Fati out on loan, it feels like Barca's rebuild never really got going, while Real Madrid have built a squad for the future. It wouldn't be surprising if last season's title is the last for a while at the Camp Nou. So guys, that was 10 players that should have been upgraded. What did you guys think of the list and who did we miss out? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please do think about subscribing to Football Daily and put the notification bell on so you never miss an upload. I'll catch you later in the week.